everybody, welcome back to Seven Colors Australia Film Festival. This is Scaff 2021, and here we are with Mr. John Hipwell from Hipwell International Productions, and Mr. Nao from, he's the director of the Scaff Film Festival. So here we are, we're going to talk a little bit more about Road to Boston. It's a co-production with Korea, and I think it's one of the greatest achievements in the Victorian film industry. So, John, you like to speak a little bit more about yourself and give a little bit of an introduction to our viewers of Road to Boston, please.
Certainly. Well, yes. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to be part of Scaff. It's a festival that goes back 9 years, and I've known Noel longer than that. He's a fantastic festival director and multi-talented person, and it's a real pleasure being here today or tonight. So a little bit of history about myself. I started off in film and television school and got attached to a feature film called Alvin Purple back in the 70s and the 1970s, and I've been working on lots of movies ever since, feature films like Getting of Wisdom, Mango Tree, Mad Max, Thirst, Snapshot, goes on and on. I'm a filmmaker basically, and a passionate, make lots of films, feature films, and I guess we're here tonight to talk about Road to Boston, which is a recent feature film that I was the producer of. I've worked my way up as from a runner, sort of as the lowest of the lowest, but for anybody who's watching, you know, it's always always good to start. You know, doesn't matter where you start, you can always get to the top if you keep persevering. And so I've worked my way up in the management area, and so recently I've completed production. I was a service company in Australia for a South Korean blockbuster feature film called Road to Boston, which is a story about a South Korean marathon runner who, after the Second World War, it's set in 1947 in South Korea, and this young runner wants to run the race in the Boston Marathon, and his because the Americans have won the battle and kicked the Japanese out, he's asked to run with the American flag on his chest, and of course that's the drama of the film. And in the end, he runs a race and wins for South Korea, and it's a great uplifting story for the South Koreans and for Americans and Australians and everybody else. It'll be a wonderful film, and I was privileged enough to get involved with it. We shot Ballarat, Bendigo, and Geelong and Melbourne for Boston. So a lot of the scenes around the race, the actual race, we shot in Ballarat, Bendigo, Geelong, and Melbourne, and dressed it up to make it look like it was Boston, and had these period vehicles and people all dressed up in period costumes and lots of extras, lots of wonderful Ballaratians and Bendigoians and Geelongians coming along and standing and waving their American flags and carrying on, and so it was a great success. It was a wonderful working with the South Koreans, and great for the Victorian film industry, and should be a good film when it gets released next year.
Awesome. Speaking about locations, what was your favorite spot for the film?
Well, my favorite spot was in the beginning. It was a negative sort of, what are we doing here? This is really complicated. So it was the Prince's Bridge, actually, in the city of Melbourne. So that was quite complicated on the Yarra River and the Prince's Bridge. And we had to light that, and we had to, there was a scene, and so we had to make it look like it was 1947. And it's going to be a pretty spectacular scene in the end, because they're going to use special effects and CGI to get rid of all the city and make it look like it's in 1947. So it was nice to be working in Melbourne again, so that was fun. But there's lots of special scenes.
But what was your inspiration in such a co-production?
Well, my nickname is Hips, John Hipwell, and I had a nickname like we all get in the business, Hips. And then, so coincidentally, when I was a lot younger and invoicing companies for the work that I did, people were getting a bit worried about getting an invoice from Hips, so I turned it into Hipwell International Production Services, the acronym.
Right.
And that was a stroke of luck, because I've travelled the world, and I love being engaged with various cultures, different cultures around the world. I love communicating with all the different cultures and watching all the different feature films and cultures and television shows and things. So that led me to working a lot internationally, and so I have a reputation. And so this South Korean company was looking for a production company to pair up with and work with, and fortunately they came to me, and so I did them a budget and did them a schedule and negotiated with them and won the job for Australia and Victoria.
That's beautiful.
Oh, okay. That's quite interesting. Korea, that's one of the countries that would actually surprise the audience. Then we are very used to seeing Indian, the Bollywood movies, but this is quite, it's just going to make the viewers little excited to see what's going to happen next. So I'm excited. Because when I actually saw what's there, like, the trailer, when you see that, you go like, what's going on? You're curious for the end, and you just want to scroll through and see what's going to happen next. So, but at the same time, what's the stage the film is? I'm talking about release dates and distributions and the plan. You can say what you like.
No.
We are curious.
Well, the film, the Korean film industry is a very big industry, and talking about multicultural, they have their own language, and so the film is a Korean language film, but it will be released with an English-speaking language, titles and everything. But initially, so we've all coming through and out of COVID, and COVID's shut down all the cinemas in South Korea, and it's a big blockbuster movie. It's a big budget film, so they're holding off. They don't want to. It's a bit like James Bond, the James Bond film. The James Bond film's only just been released.
Yes.
The people are starting to return, but South Korea's suffering a bit from their own COVID challenges, and so I expect it to be released next year. And once it's been released in South Korea, and all the wonderful South Korean people have seen it and enjoyed it, and then it'll start to travel around the rest of the world and be screened. It'll be screened in Victoria in a cinema near you soon, I hope.
Oh, that's nice, John.
Yeah.
It's nice. Talking about diversity, we love multiculturalism, we love diversity. We all talk about it, but what can you do as a producer? What can other producers can do if they come together or individually to like make this a talking point amongst everybody? Not just say, oh, multiculturalism, just for the sake of saying it. How can you expand this networking for diversity, multiculturalism? How can you extend this, and how can you get this expansion and extension into an international platform? These are co-productions, but how can you do it more?
Well, I think one of the things that's really important about working with another culture is understanding that other culture and being empathetic to that other culture, and trying to be considerate of the various cultural expectations and considerations. So whether it be India or Japan or even America, for instance, working with the Americans, we have to understand what their expectations are and their considerations are, and respect their cultural considerations. So that's the first and the foremost. Once we and then we inculcate the crew into understanding what expectations there are and what considerations there are, so that we can all work as equally and as successfully as possible, and coherently and sympathetically, I guess, as successfully as possible. That's the and then if once, and this is what I'm hoping and expecting with Road to Boston, people will go, oh great, that's a great film, it's a beautiful film, it's got it's got a South Korean story, but it's also got a section that's in Boston of the United States of America, and so there's a synergy there, and so that'll attract other international productions to Australia and to specifically to Victoria.
Talking about culture, were there any struggles? Let's say emotionally, were there any struggles culturally?
Yes, of course, absolutely, absolutely. No relationship is without sort of dramas and sort of and challenges.
Yeah.
Whether it be so yes, of course. Look, I won't go into details, but we were able to resolve those issues and concerns and resolve them. The South Koreans have got a different way of operating and running their teams and their crews. We're a little bit more egalitarian, a little bit more laid back in a way, and that was a bit of a challenge for the South Koreans to come to terms with. They've got I believe very much that the crew must be fed extremely well, because you need to have a very healthy crew, and so there was a challenge there that we had to bring in a Korean chef as well as an Australian chef, so that we could feed the Korean crew as well as the Australian crew.
Yeah.
The Australians love the Korean food, and the Koreans love the Australians love the Korean food, and it was we both got on very well and loved each other's food, so it was really good.
Oh, that's nice. I'll come to some of the questions. I wanted to talk about the struggles that comes a little later. How about your knowledge with Scaff Festival? You like to talk more about your relationship with the festival?
Yeah, look, my relationship with this fabulous festival goes back a number of years. Noel, I knew Noel before he started the festival, and I was aware of his heritage, his Indian heritage, and a fabulous feature film career in India before he arrived in Australia. So very excited to meet Noel, and as I said, I always love to interact with I loved Indian films, and when I travelled to India and loved the different way of watching an Indian film to the Australian sort of way, and Noel and I spent quite a number of occasions talking about that, and then he invited me to be involved on occasion at Scaff. So it's a fabulous festival, and I thank Noel for the privilege of being part of it and being a friend going back many years.
Sure. Thank you so much for joining the 9th year of Scaff Film Festival. Thank you so much for your time, sparing your time to accepting our invitation to interview for the Road to Boston. As you know, the Scaff Film Festival, which celebrate Australian films and creative arts, cinema and media talks, and do the film screenings to promote cultural diversity and multiculturalism, surrounding multiculturalism, diversity, and representation in the Victorian and Australian film industry. Do you have any suggestions for us that, apart from the way we have operated in our last 9 years, we started with a kind of screening only 1 hour, and then it increased to a few hours, then increased to 1 day, then weekend, and now it's a month over, a month-long festival. Because you have been participating worldwide in a range of film festivals, where you could see that, the way we provide a platform to local aspiring filmmakers and established filmmakers like yourself. Our aim is to connect the aspiring filmmakers along with the established filmmakers so that they could get mentorship and they could avail an opportunity to present their projects, could be seen by the local filmmakers. Keeping in mind all those things, do you have any suggestions that we can include any other element in the festival, like we have presented Road to Boast, or on any other things we could connect Victorian talent locally and globally?
Absolutely. I think what you're doing just right here now is a terrific way. It's a cost-effective. The Zoom meeting, this sort of broadcast. It's actually you're a filmmaker, and inviting other members of the industry to come along and talk with Tanya and yourself is I think an excellent idea. Another suggestion is you've got the Seven Colours Australian Film Festival, so it's a film festival. To develop a niche in the, because there's over 3,000 film festivals around the world. There's a considerable amount, and it's I think the niche is the multicultural side of it. It's very to amplify that and to welcome young filmmakers who want to tell their story about their cultural background and their cultural stories. And I think that's what you've grown from, and where you can continue to grow to involve young and upcoming filmmakers in a multicultural filmmaking process and telling their multicultural stories, and inviting other experienced people to come along and tell, inspire and mentor the next generation of filmmakers, which we desperately need.
Thank you so much for your kind words. Another thing, as you know, that through this platform, we have been aiming at to strengthen the Victorian and Australian film industry, film and cultural ties with India and surrounding countries like all the South Asian countries like Sri Lanka, and the neighboring.
That's where I'm from.
Yeah, so Tanya is from Sri Lanka. She got a Sri Lankan heritage, so she's contributing a lot towards Scaff and all other Skga festivals, and she has been actively working in various forms of community engagement, which is, I think, in a range of areas that I see. Yeah,
Commercial and community development, both.
She's a perfect blend of representing both the areas into film, creative arts, modeling, acting, and a range of other performing arts areas. So my question is specific after the platform. What we discussed before was that at this platform, because we are from India, Indian heritage or Sri Lankan heritage, or neighboring countries like Nepal or Bhutan and Afghanistan and Pakistan and Myanmar. So we are focused into that area. As you know, that I got an opportunity in 2008 to get in a project in Australia, where I opened an office in Mumbai for a couple of years. Do you remember those days?
Yep, yeah, I do. Yep.
Yeah. So we have been kind of introducing these Victorian locations into that sector now, primarily into the Indian film industry. You know, the Indian film industry is a huge industry. It's not specific to one language, but Hindi and Tamil and Telugu and like Bollywood or Hollywood, Bollywood and Tollywood and Mollywood. There's lots of woods.
All the woods. Yeah.
So that sector where we were born or where we have experience with and where we have learned art of arts into the creative arts and performing arts. So our aim through this particular platform, Scaff Film Festival, which was established in 2013, is that at this platform we provide an opportunities to local and global filmmakers to develop film and cultural ties locally and globally, primarily with India, South Asia. We shouldn't say primarily, because being an Australian, being an Victorian citizen, so we are open to the entire world, So we are happy to associate with anywhere and with everyone. So being our cultural heritage, that is what our strength is, that we can develop. We can work more into the cultural heritage side with India, with Sri Lanka and the neighboring countries. And through this platform, we have been, working through inviting or developing cultural film and cultural ties, projecting the Victorian and Australian locations in the past and ongoing for last nearly 2 decades now. And so do you have any kind of your views or your comment in last 10 years, how it was, or how prior to that, how, because I'm into this Victorian film industry was roughly from last 2 decades, I would say, and more into the events, festivals, and education through the film, creative arts, performing arts. But you yourself has seen the Indian community or the Indian South Asian community growing up in front of your eyes. How you compare how was in the past when you did Mad Max in 1982, I think that was in year 92.
78, yeah.
Yeah, so at that time, how was it? And over the time, how it has developed and where we are in what position we are in, and please give us some tips or something where, in what direction we can head in the future.
Well, I think
maybe my question is a little bit. There's too many questions in one question.
No. It's all good. I think I look at the world very positively, and I look at the film industry very positively. I see, yes, dramatically the industry and distribution and exhibition, which is where we make the money, exhibiting the films. It's all very well making them, but we've got to find an audience, and we need to a paying audience. And I mentioned, in India, how it was such a joy sitting with all the Indian people watching a movie, and it was an open air sort of cinema, and it was just magical. The world has changed dramatically, but it's really positive. And now I can sit down and watch Netflix, and I can see Indian films again. It's not quite the same experience, or Sri Lankan films and Korean films. It's just a wonderful opportunity. And so for your festival, there's great opportunity, because the world wants to engage in the global village. They want to. They're starting to, as we've seen with the South Korean film, the Squid Game. That was a massive success, and of course America has been saturating us all these years with the American films, but now the world is changing, and the world wants to see different views of the world where we are. And so I'm very positive about the future for my own career, and for the younger generation coming up. It's very exciting, and for the multicultural world, the 200 plus cultures, the human arts that we're all involved with, as you were mentioning before. Wow.
Sure, thank you.
So it's all good.
Yeah, and at the same time, we wish your words could reach many more filmmakers from Indian and South Asian origin background and genders locally, so that they are engaged into developing short films or web series or at any digital platform. But most of them, I will say everyone, has a wish or has a vision to develop a feature film project one day. Right? So that is a stepping stone from starting from the small, projects and moving on to, learn how to develop, how to script write, how to kind of work into the pre-production area, then the production, post-production, or distribution, keeping in mind our local filmmakers. Could you see any possible, connections with the local filmmakers, specifically with India in terms of co-productions? Because we know that Australian co-productions have a formal treaty with, I think, 7 or 8 countries, and in which USA is there, and there's many more other countries, which the things have been happening in the past. My question in specific is that how Australian co-productions, the communication or the past, what you have seen, because we know from your past when you joined us in the Scaff, I think 2018 or 19, at that time you mentioned that you have been working into film co-productions with Thailand also. So you have worked with Hollywood, you have worked with the Korean recently, and many more other countries or cultures in the past. In specific, what do you see the film co-production area? Like one area where we have been working in the past was, projecting Victorian locations, subsidies, or other attractions, so that we could woo the Bollywood filmmakers or other filmmakers from India, Sri Lanka, and to come and shoot their commercials, or for the commercials they have been visiting regularly. But we want to work more into the area which is film, or recently, if you know, some TV series is happening at the moment in Victoria also. You must be aware about the Shantaram, I think, novel. It's an Indian novel, so that is a Shantaram is being shot in Victorian film industry. That is one of the good success of Victorian film industry, to bring the foreign filmmakers and bring the money, or more people could invest the money into Victorian trade in terms of boosting our tourism or trade, or creating jobs for local our economy. So keeping the economy in mind, culture and film exchange in mind, in specific, could you please tell us that what have been done in the past, what in most recently, and what we can develop in the future? So that is a question which majority of the people where I have met from this background locally, so they don't have lights into that area. They feel very kind of disheartened, I will say, that Australia is working with Hollywood, Australia is working with so many other countries, 6 other countries. They have film co-production, film formal treaty or memorandum of understanding with them. So where you see how we can work more better or specific, or if you could just give us some tips so that we could educate local people through this interview of yours, so that your words, expert guidance into that film co-production, or joint ventures or collaborations, or between Australian, in specific we say Victorian film industry because we live in Victoria, Australian and Victorian film industry working with the Indian and South Asian countries in terms of co-productions. Do you think that could be developed, or has been developed, or has some work done in the past? Or because you have developed so many films in the last long career span of your life, I think I will say 50 years, maybe 5 decades. And so if you could guide us something so that we could take action into that area, we could put our input, we should develop a team locally and could educate them. Okay, well, John have said this in this interview, so we should work into that area. So could you please shed some light on that area, please?
Absolutely. So I think you're doing it already, Noel. the Scaff is actually what you need to do is focus on the individual stories, the little short films, and in fact you could maybe offer a prize, you know, to excite people, to get people to tell their stories and make films about their own stories, because in the end we're storytellers, and the reason we watch these movies is because we want to go and see that particular story. Now, I don't want to see a shoot 'em up cowboy story, but I might want to see a story about a Sri Lankan woman finding peace with her mother, or something like that. It's we're all attracted to stories and to people, and so the way to expand the industry and to expand the relationships with other cultures is to find the stories that connect us. For many years, and it's understandable because we're all xenophobic, we're tribal, and we've come, you know, for thousands of years we've been sort of living in these tribes and sort of keeping everybody out and holding our families safe against the marauding other tribe. And now the world is opening up, and the way to open that up is to make movies that actually show that we're all peace loving, and we all find life sacred and humanity sacred, and we should care and take and love one another and make peace with each other. So they're the stories that we need to start telling and communicating with each other, and then the global village will become smaller and enable. And it starts with you, Tanea and Noel, to assist in getting younger people to tell their stories, personal stories about their own life, and they will grow into bigger stories, working with other people and other nations.
Sure. Thank you so much for the your film, This Road to Boston, has inspired us to do something similar between Australia and India. So that's what is a inspiration for people like me or Tanya, or the people who has been supporting this festival in the past, present, and they have vision in their mind that we need to grow more bigger in the next 10th year, because there's a 10th year celebration. So definitely we will keep your all the things what you have suggested today and advised us basically, and so we will look forward to get many more things to celebrate our next 10th year in this festival. And I will head towards Tanya if she has any further conversation. John.
Yeah, I won't keep you any longer, but I have one question for you. Since we're talking about upcoming film producers and anybody who's in the industry, young people, they're very passionate, they're very driven, but you being very experienced in this industry, how would you guide them, if you had to, how they should overcome any ethical dilemma and also to still be driven? How would you guide them?
Well, my advice would be to find the passion to express the story that you want to tell, and to persevere. So be brave and courageous. Don't sort of hold back, because everybody's story is important and should be told, especially if you want to tell it. Then and don't wait for the right moment to come along. The technology there is now. I'm holding in my hand a tool that can make a movie. They make feature film movies out of these tools, out of the phones, and so anybody can make a movie now and then find an audience, because this is a process. It's not costing us anything. It's just our time, and our passion that is driving what we're doing here, and what you can do, what any filmmaker or young aspiring filmmaker can do. So write it down, write down the story, then go out and film it. Don't worry about the technology, don't worry about the acting, don't worry about just do it, and then do it again and learn, because every time you do it, you'll go, oh, I didn't do that very well, I can do that better. How can I do it better? And also what happens is, if you keep doing it, you either fall in love with it and you keep wanting to do it, or you go, nah, this is not for me. I think I'll become a lawyer, or I'll become I'll become a bank teller or whatever. And so your path will find a way, you'll find the journey, and you'll find an audience. Just keep on keeping on making those films, telling those stories.
Be brave, but be cautious.
Well, it's when you say cautious, yes, of course you must do everything safe and carefully and respectfully, but it's if you're too reserved, well then you need to open up. You need to express yourself. You're expressing yourself, and being courageous means that that the story that you're telling is something that can inspire other people as well, which is important. So if you're too cautious, well then the story won't be expressive enough to change people and move people to go, that person, I really want to see more of that person's movies.
Nice. Thanks, Hips. Thanks a lot for joining us. And I really appreciate Namal's commitment in this, and all of us, we are all struggling the same thing. We're going through the same thing right now with the COVID situation, but I'm really glad this is, even virtually, we all can connect. That's how we improve things. That's how we get, there's no interruption, there's no hiccup. We just go on. But I really thank you for being here with us tonight. I can't wait until the release date. I will watch it. I'll talk to you again. But until then, thanks a lot for your participation. And that's all we got, folks. This is Scaff 2021.